Jesus, whom we call Master and Lord, has often asked, and may well be asking us now, "Why do you call me Lord and do not the things I say?" Today, Pastor Bartlett continues to look at the example of humility found in Jesus Christ. Listen with us.
Jesus was the sovereign, yet he took the place of a slave. He had all things in his hands, yet he picked up a towel. He was Lord and Master, yet he served his followers. True humility grows out of our relationship with the Father. If our desire is to know and do the Father's will so that we might glorify his name, then we will experience the joy of following Christ's example and serving others. It is sad to note in the church today that we have many celebrities but very few servants. There are many who want to exercise authority, but few who want to take the towel and basin and wash feet. We desperately need this lesson in respect of humility and servanthood today. The church is filled with a worldly, obnoxious spirit of competition and criticism as believers jostle with one another to see who is the greatest. We may be growing in knowledge, but we do not seem to be growing in grace. Jesus demonstrated to his disciples what he expected from their lives. He expected them to follow in his steps by loving and serving others. By washing the feet of his disciples, Jesus was not instituting a new church ordinance. What he did was to clearly indicate that a true servant of God must possess humility and must be characterized by a willingness to be a slave and serve others. Christians come into humility as their concern for God and others increases, and as their devotion to God and others increases. As we become more involved in the lives of others, we become less consumed with ourselves. The converse is true. When pride dominates us, we are preoccupied with ourselves and have very little, if any, concern for others. Rather than serve others, we will seek to be served. Alexander MacLaren, the Scottish nonconformist minister, said, "Our humility must not only be a lowly estimate of ourselves, but it must be a practical stripping off of distinctions and prerogatives and an identifying of ourselves with the lowliest. It must lead to service. That service must have for its end our brother's cleansing. The humble mind thinks not of its claims on others, but of its duties to them." The Apostle Paul is a great example of one who had a servant's heart. In all his letters, he continually identified himself as a bond slave of Jesus Christ and spent his entire ministry serving others and meeting their spiritual, emotional, physical, and economic needs. What he endured for the sake of those to whom he ministered is phenomenal. There was nothing that Paul was not prepared to do and to suffer for others, so that he could honor the one who had called him. First Thessalonians chapter 2 and verses 1 to 12 is one of the passages which reveal Paul's great love for people and his willingness to serve them. Let us listen to the testimony of this humble servant of God. For you yourselves know, brothers and sisters, about our coming to you. It has not proven to be purposeless. But although we suffered earlier and were mistreated in Philippi, as you know, we had the courage in our God to declare to you the gospel of God in spite of much opposition. For the appeal we make does not come from error or impurity or with deceit, but just as we have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel, so we declare it, not to please people, but God, who examines our hearts. For we never appeared with flattering speech, as you know, nor with a pretext for greed. God is our witness, nor to seek glory from people, either from you or from others. Although we could have imposed our weight as apostles of Christ, instead we became little children among you, like a nursing mother caring for her own children. With such affection for you, we were happy to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you had become dear to us. For you recall, brothers and sisters, our toil and drudgery by working night and day so as not to impose a burden on any of you. We preach to you the gospel of God. You are witnesses, and so is God, as to how holy and righteous and blameless our conduct was toward you who believe. As you know, we treated each one of you as a father treats his own children, exhorting and encouraging you and insisting that you live in a way worthy of God, who calls you to his own kingdom and his glory. New English Translation. Paul's sacrificial devotion to these people is obvious. His love, concern, and burden drove him on relentlessly. He cared deeply. He was willing to follow the example of his Lord and Master, who gave his life a ransom for many. This is the mindset and commitment that every one of us should have. May God grant that it will be so. Charles D. Meggs wrote a hymn which beautifully encapsulates the heart of a servant. The hymn, like General William Booth's telegram, is simply entitled Others. Lord, help me live from day to day in such a self-forgetful way that even when I kneel to pray, my prayer shall be for others. Help me in all the work I do to ever be sincere and true, and know that all I'd do for you must needs be done for others. Let self be crucified and slain and buried deep, and all in vain may efforts be to rise again, except to live for others. So when my work on earth is done, and my new work in heaven's begun, I'll praise you for the crown I've won, but praise you more for others. Others, Lord, yes, others. Let this my motto be. Help me to live for others, that I may live like thee.
As we prepare to kickstart our weekend, here are 3 practical things we can begin to do as we journey towards true humility. 1. Regularly pray for others. 2. Confess your faults one to another. And 3. Promote other people, their strengths and abilities. These 3 things will help to reorient us to a right sense of self, as well as help us realize the world does not revolve around us only. Until next time, think on these things.